Okay, it's Thursday, November 10th. This is a pre-opening SPY report. This is right after the CPI number was released on the daily chart. Yesterday, we had a big red bar, and we're anticipating price heading lower into, take out these lows as we discussed in the closing video yesterday. And for a while, the pre-market range was kind of between these blue lines and holding there, maybe an hour before the open. And I was hoping, to kind of stay kind of in this area, maybe move up a little bit towards that green line and then head lower. But what happened was, here's now, I can get rid of this line. This is now what the pre-market high is looking at. We had the CPI number come out and the market simply exploded. Well, if I kind of take that bar, this was down here, before the number hit, and then boom, it just went up. The Dow Jones is up like 800 points. Here's now the high of the session. So the whole economic, now this is why, you kind of day trade and don't do anything into reports or into earnings, because you never know. And now you can kind of go from here. And basically, it's kind of a tricky scenario what to expect next after this big gap up. And just looking at the overall context, you can see here the market now, as it came up strong, wanted to take out liquid, what you'd call the highs, or anyone who got short yesterday, I'm sure put stops here. So it's possible we're just taking out stops in this area. Maybe we head lower, but until we go below the midpoint of yesterday, then you can't really be biased to the downside in any way, assuming the market's going to hold here and open up somewhere up here. And yet it's a tricky scenario. Are we really going to kind of have a strong green day now and start working towards the top of this range? It's possible. We can watch the opening 15-minute price when it opens relative to wherever this pre-market high ends up. We're still kind of drifting higher here. So obviously the bias is going to be to the upside. It's just a question of watching the opening price action and see if we can get some follow through. If it wants to just take out this high up here on the daily chart and reject, it's going to be tricky. There's a big fair value gap, let's call it that, in here of inefficient pricing. So price can come down in here to just kind of fill that in, but you don't really know if it's going to go below the midpoint of, you come down in here just to fill it in, and then we can get kind of a red to green kind of move today if the market wants to stay strong. As long as we're above the midpoint of yesterday, I have to go by that as my guide. Weekly chart, we're still just inside of last week, so keep that in mind. So that's really not an actionable signal. I discussed yesterday how we could be getting an inside bar this week, and then it's going to be next week to determine whether we go up or down from there. We'll have to see how this bar closes. Right now, it's a 3 bar to the downside, and at the moment, we just have a 1 bar forming. Even though we're all the way up here at the moment, we're just kind of chopping around inside, that big red, outside bar of last week. So if I zoom out kind of the 15-minute chart, if you just look at it, all we're really doing from last week is just kind of chopping around inside of this. You can just see a big, I guess if you're really zooming out big, you see a big trading range here, a big trading range here. We're just kind of, even though it looks like a strong up opening today, we're just really chopping around inside a range. So it is possible at any moment to reject up in there and then come back down towards the bottom of the range and eventually head lower. We don't know yet. And the way that would happen, I guess, would be more tomorrow. If we end up having some kind of daily bar that starts up here and takes out these stops, but then either has a reject, make like a 2-up kind of red bar. Let's say we close near the lows, then I'd feel comfortable we're at the top of a range, and maybe tomorrow looking for that, taking out the lows and then moving back down here again. So today's going to be a tough day is the main point. I don't really know what to anticipate or expect, and sometimes you just got to sit back and kind of look for something obvious to form intraday at this point. Once the market opens, depending where this high ends up being pre-market, it will just watch the 15-minute and we'll look at structure. And if you see some kind of obvious rejection up in here and we can't get to this purple line, which turns the monthly chart green, then you can try an aggressive short, I guess, but you're going to be biased to the long side as long as we hold above the midpoint of yesterday, which is around here. So you could come down and get like a red, I guess if you get like a red move and then the green move only gets to the halfway point of whatever that red move is, you can try a short at that point. If you get a strong move up that can't really go above the first bar high, and then you see some kind of rejection below the intraday lows, you can try a short that way. If you want to if you get a big green bar and you want to try to go long and see if we can hit this target up here, the purple line, you can try that and know that we're near the top of a trading range. So you got to be nimble in case it doesn't get there. I mean, it's a whole bunch of scenarios if you want to try to trade the open, and I'll be able to update it, what happened later on, but I'm not sure today is the clearest day in terms of what to expect, a bigger picture. But if we do go up here and reject in some form on the daily chart, tomorrow would be a clearer day to go short. And if we end up with a nice green day that holds, then I could feel comfortable, and we might even get there today. Who knows? We could be taking out these highs up here. So that's it. I mean, we're just going to have to really, after such a big volatile, move pre-market like this with a Dow opening up 800 points, you got to be biased to the upside a little bit, but it's tricky to know given we're in a big range really where it goes from here. So let's just see how today unfolds.